let's get into it. What you're about to hear is too disturbing for comfort. Number 10. A doctor hands his patient a metal cylinder. Take this home, he says. Inhale twice a day. It will help you breathe. Inside the cylinder, mountain air. Collected from a forest ridge, compressed, sealed, and sold with a certificate listing the exact altitude. The patient pays, goes home, inhales, and feels better because he believes he will. This was not a fringe practice. It was advertised in newspapers, recommended by physicians, prescribed to the sick across Europe and America for decades. Industrial cities were choking with coal smoke. Patients sent to the countryside often recovered. Doctors noticed. They drew the wrong conclusion. Not, the city air is harming them, but the mountain air is curing them. So they bottled the cure and sold it. The patient felt the relief. The doctor felt the satisfaction. Neither had any idea what was actually happening. The cure was the belief. The cylinder was theater. Number 9. Animals have been put on trial and executed, not symbolically, formally, with judges, defense lawyers, written indictments, and official verdicts. In 1386 in France, a pig was arrested for killing a child. It was given a trial, found guilty, dressed in human clothing, and publicly executed by hanging. The court records survive. In other cases, rats were legally summoned to court for destroying grain stores. When they failed to appear, their court-appointed lawyer argued the roads were too dangerous due to cats. The judge accepted this and postponed the case. Entire swarms of insects were formally excommunicated by church authorities and served with written eviction orders. The pig was not dressed as a joke. It was dressed as procedure, because in that courtroom, this was simply how justice worked. Every person in that room thought they were doing the right thing. They had laws, precedent, and ceremony. They had everything except the ability to see how lost they were. Number 8. In 1908, something exploded over Siberia with the force of dozens of nuclear bombs, and the world barely noticed. The blast flattened 80 million trees across 2,000 square kilometers. People 600 kilometers away were knocked off their feet. The pressure waves circled the entire planet twice. A meteor had entered the atmosphere and detonated in midair before reaching the ground, releasing the equivalent of 10 to 15 megatons of explosive force, all at once, all in silence, in the middle of nowhere. No major cities were hit. No governments mobilized. The world moved on. Nuclear weapons did not exist yet, but nature had already run the test. The next one is already on its way. We just don't know the date. Number 7. A fully functioning nuclear reactor once operated inside the Earth. Nobody built it. In 1972, scientists studying uranium ore from a mine in Gabon found that the uranium content was dramatically depleted, the kind of depletion you only see after a fission chain reaction has already taken place. Different samples, different locations in the same mine. The anomaly kept appearing. The conclusion was uncomfortable. This rock had hosted a natural nuclear reactor. Uranium deposits, groundwater as a moderator, and the right geometry had aligned by accident, creating a self-sustaining fission reaction. It generated heat. It boiled away its own cooling water and shut down. Then the water returned, and it started again. 150,000 years, heating, cooling, restarting. Nature did not need our permission. It did not need our knowledge. It simply ran. 7 down. What comes next gets closer to home. Number 6. Humans experienced near-nuclear destruction before they had any words for it. December 6, 1917. Halifax, Canada. A cargo ship loaded with 2,900 tons of high explosives caught fire in the harbor. People gathered at windows to watch. It looked like an ordinary fire. Nobody moved. When it detonated, the pressure wave hit the city in under a second. Buildings did not burn. They ceased to exist. People standing at windows were killed by the glass of those same windows. The shock wave ruptured lungs kilometers away. A tsunami followed. Nearly 2,000 people died. An entire district was erased in under a minute. Doctors had no framework for what arrived at their hospitals. Survivors had burns with no source of flame.
Internal bleeding with no external wound. Eyes destroyed by pressure alone. There was no name for it, no protocol. Physicians treated what they could identify and watched the rest die without understanding why. Only after Hiroshima, 30 years later, did scientists return to the Halifax records and recognize what had happened. The people at those windows had no idea they were already dead. Number 5. Humans once celebrated a discovery that was quietly destroying the planet.
When chlorofluorocarbons were developed in the early 20th century, chemists were genuinely thrilled. Stable, non-toxic, non-flammable, cheaper than everything they replaced. Engineers called them miracle chemicals. Advertisements celebrated them as gifts to modern life. For decades, there were no signs of trouble, because in the lower atmosphere, there were none. In the stratosphere, ultraviolet radiation split the molecules apart, releasing chlorine atoms. A single chlorine atom could destroy up to 100,000 ozone molecules. When scientists raised concerns in the 1970s, the industry dismissed them. The compounds had a perfect safety record. Then, satellite imagery produced a hole in the ozone layer the size of a continent. The scientists had not been predicting a problem. They had been documenting one already well underway. 5 cases, each one documented, each one completely invisible to the people living through it. The next 3 don't stay in the past. They are already inside you. Number 4. The surgery that never happened. In 1994, a surgeon in Texas performed knee surgery on a group of patients with chronic pain. Some received the full procedure. Others received only this: a small incision, a few minutes under anesthesia, and stitches. Nothing else was done. The patients who received the sham surgery reported the same relief as those who had the real operation. Same recovery time, same reduction in pain, same improvement in mobility. They had been healed by a procedure that never took place. The study was published in one of the most respected medical journals in the world. It triggered a review of hundreds of thousands of knee operations performed every year. Many were found to be no more effective than the sham. Surgeons had been cutting into people for decades, with genuine skill, genuine care, and genuine results, without understanding where those results were actually coming from. The patients believed they had been repaired. The surgeons believed they were repairing them. Both were right, and both were completely wrong about why. The body healed itself. It just needed to believe someone had helped. Number 3. There are synthetic chemicals inside your body right now that were never supposed to be there, and there is no way to remove them. Persistent organic pollutants do not break down. They travel through air, water, and living tissue, accumulating in fat cells and concentrating as they move up the food chain. Scientists found them in polar bears that had never been near a factory, in seabirds on remote Pacific islands, in fish living 6 kilometers below the ocean's surface. Then they found them in humans, in the blood of people with no occupational exposure, in breast milk, in newborns, before they had eaten a single meal or breathed industrial air. The transfer happens in the womb. You were not exposed to these compounds. You were born with them, passed from one generation to the next, quietly, without consent, without knowledge, without any way to refuse. Number 2. The human species nearly went extinct, and no one knew it was happening. Geneticists mapping human DNA across global populations found something that did not fit. Human genetic diversity is far lower than any population of our size should produce. Other primates living in single forest regions show greater genetic variation than all 8 billion humans alive today. At some point, the entire human population collapsed. Not declined, collapsed. Genetic models suggest the number of surviving breeding individuals dropped below 10,000. Some estimates place it lower. The entire future of the species balanced on a group smaller than a small town. One epidemic, one failed harvest, one bad winter. That was almost the end. Somewhere in that group was every person who would ever live, every painter, every scientist, every child born this morning, every person watching this video right now. The evidence is still in your DNA, a compression so severe that modern genetics can read it 200,000 years later, written into every cell in your body. You are here because they didn't die. That's the entire explanation. Number 1. You are already living inside one of those moments. Every person on this list, the crowds watching the harbor fire, the doctors prescribing bottled air, the chemists celebrating their miracle compounds, lived in complete normality. They were not fools. They were not careless. They were people exactly like you, on an ordinary day, with no idea what they were standing inside. The same is true right now. There are things happening today, documented, measurable, already underway, that the people of the future will look back on with disbelief. Not because we are hiding them, because the gap between evidence and understanding takes time to close. You are already in it. You just don't know which part yet.